Good morning and welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited because I can finally talk about Legendborn in so much more detail today. Hooray! I'm so grateful because Hear Your Voices let me in on this tour action. I've wanted this book since the cover dropped. And even since before that when I heard about the premise. So essentially we are talking about the main character Bree, who right at the beginning of the story is dealing with a massive amount of grief and perhaps a little bit of guilt over her mother's passing, and she decides to go to early college courses at Chapel Hill in North Carolina. She's really in a state of like escapism and like trying to just do what she can to get by every single day, and it's so compelling. And along the way, you know, obviously we have our Arthurian legend, we have our basic premise of girl goes to school, gets into a secret society, finds some hunky boys along the way. It's all good. So while I'm not great at giving you a premise, I am great at telling you that I've already read through this once. So this vlog is actually a reread. Truly could not help it. When the day I got this book, I sat down and I started reading, and I didn't stop until I hit the back cover. So what we're gonna do today is go back through it. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about like some of my favorite themes and how they're presented. Maybe read you a couple non-spoilery passages so I don't get sued, you know what I'm saying? I just really love this book, and I'm really hoping that you will pre-order it because this is coming out on the 9th. You still have 6 days to order it before it drops fully. There are plenty of virtual events that are going on as a virtual book tour with Tracy Dion. The first one that I know about is with Daniel Clayton and Zoraida Cordova, who you hear me talk about literally all the time. So definitely check that one out. I'm gonna be in the chat for that. Then there's another one, and then there's a third one. I'll have the information. So without further ado, I'm gonna get to rereading. I'm so excited. I love this book so unbelievably much, and I really believe that it is one of those books that's going to be in the vaults of people's libraries as like the best YA contemporary fantasy of 2020. So I would have to make a list of books that I think are literally the best releases of this year that I've read. I haven't read every book obviously, but that I've read. But yeah, this is definitely a top book. You do not want to miss out on reading this. There's so many benefits to reading this book, and it hits you, it cuts you. I love it. So I do want to quickly check in. There are just a few lines that I want to talk about. So right away in the prologue hits you so hard. And when I first read through this, I actually had to stop, put the book down, take a few deep breaths, and then come back. I've, thank goodness, never lost a parent, but I have lost my grandparents and therefore had to watch the grief play out on my parents' faces. Now my family is very blunt, and my dad has always taught me that death is not something to be afraid of, and you know, with my family we are allowed to celebrate. We are allowed to be sad, but we're also supposed to push that aside and celebrate the person's life that did die. In a way, I feel like that doesn't quite address the grief that happens when you do lose someone, especially a parent. So the way that it's written right away lends itself to us understanding that Bree, our main character, is really going through some shit, and you really feel like she's never gonna get this resolved in like a healthy way, like right off the bat. So anyway, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's this line on page 2 and it is, "My mother's life has stopped. Shouldn't everything and everyone stop living too?" And like, that's how you feel. When someone has stopped in your field of influence in your life, it's weird for you to watch other people carry on as though nothing happened. Because for you, something significant has happened. Something significant has burrowed itself into your soul, has stopped all sense of like reality feeling real. Grief is heavy, and I feel like when you do lose someone and then you have to watch other people carry on with their lives, when someone you lost cannot carry on with their life, it's really just, it's hard. And as a 16-year-old, imagine that. Like, I'm getting misty-eyed about it, and I'm not 16. Now imagine being 16 and then having to work through these complex emotions on your own because you feel like you can't talk to anybody. Think about that. I've actually highlighted so much in this book, but I don't want to go line by what I highlighted. So like, because this vlog will be forever and a day. But there's another part where now we're in present day. Bree and Alice, they're at their early ECU. It's like their first day or like day 0, whatever. And they're out at this quarry where people are jumping off cliff. That's what you do in the country, okay? For fun, you jump off cliffs. She's meeting her friend's BF, and he's like complimenting her hair and saying all this stuff, but here's a line that really hit home with me. I bristle, because his tone is one that feels less like a compliment and more like he's happened upon a fun oddity. And that fun oddity is black me with my black hair. Wonderful. And I love this line because, like, how relatable. I really need... If you're watching this and you do not have black hair, it's fine to compliment it. It really is, but don't treat it as some marvel. Like, it's not the 8th wonder of the world. Black hair is very complex, and black people have a very complex relationship with their hair. So please, you know, compliment it and then keep it pushing. But this line made me laugh so hard because I've been there. I think I just relate to Bree so hard on so many levels because I've been there. I've been, you know, the little black girl in the sea of white faces that don't quite get that they're saying nice things, but they aren't nice. They're coded and they're backhanded compliments. So anyway, yeah, I understand completely what it feels like to be an oddity. And maybe you were an oddity in your own right as well. So I think that everybody can kind of relate to Bree in this situation. Hey guys, a little bit of a production shift, I was doing some cleaning and then now I'm back to reading on the read through. So I did highlight a couple lines. So when last we spoke, our girl was at some cliff diving initiation day 0 bullshit. We love it. We love to see it because country people are the best. Okay, so like stuff goes down and that really sucks, but it's I can't really tell you what happens at the party because that would be a major spoiler. So that all happens, and then she gets caught by the coppicers, and the coppicer asks her something. Where's the part? He's like, basically he just goes, how did you get into this early college admissions, blah 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 blah. I'm guessing it's needs based, and she goes, merit. I bite through my gritted teeth even though it's none of his business either way. He chuckles. Sure. It's not even over, it's not beaten over your head. This is a casual conversation that Bree is having with this bullshit ass coppicer. That really struck me. It was just another instance of this book really like jabbing me in my soul. And then some other stuff happens and she's on campus. You know, she meets with the principal, and the principal is kind of like a dick also. There's just a lot of dick ass characters. Where did I leave off? Oh, okay, so now Nick and Sel are having a tiff. They're having a dick measuring contest. They are doing things. I just love how Bree is interpreting Sel's Selness, because I like this line. A feral grin curves along his elegant mouth. There may come a day when you can stop me, but you and I both know it's not today. He's such a little twat. He's such a little cocky twat. I love him. Sel watches the fight on my face with interest. I must admit, Brianna, I'm curious. What twist of the universe has set you on my path again? He asks, his voice quiet, wistful. Alas, some mysteries must remain forever unsolved. He's such a little cocky twat. I love Sel. I fucking love Sel. I'm not going to explain what Sel is in this book. I really want you guys to read it. But he has powers, and those powers are dangerous to Bree's overall mission to find answers about her mom. So... Okay, I'm into the part of the book where kind of all of the things that directly correlate to Bree being black are kind of sidebarred. So you're in not quite your fun and games section, but in the section where you're definitely like, there are other problems in this girl's life as well. But I do want to reiterate that we're thrust into a world where we're already like dealing with her grief. We're dealing with her being treated as something that's odd, which is completely true to life. We're encountering a cop that thinks she got into the program based on needs-based admission. Her principal is like, despite your background, we'll let you stay because your mother was good, which means that we just assume you're one of the good ones. You know what I mean? That's the feel I got from that principal, and it's gross. So I love this section of the book too, because we're not dealing directly with Bree being judged based off the color of her skin. However, she's still being judged for that because no other page is black. So by virtue of her entering this space of mostly white people, notice how I didn't tell you what else was going on with that because I really don't want to spoil it. By virtue of her entering this space, she is taking up space, and a lot of the other pages they're also feeling like she's taking up space, like she's taking a spot from someone else. But had she been another white person, like I wonder if they would have reacted that way. Maybe, because there's a lot of stuff going on about bloodlines and lineage and tradition. So maybe they would have, but there's a lot of connotations here that suggest that they would not have cared as much should she not have been both a woman and also black. So it's very interesting. Oh my god, yeah. So I definitely want to, so there's another character in here that is Venezuelan, and there's two characters that are Venezuelan, but one of them is passing as white and the other one looks I guess more Latinx, more Hispanic in the face. So Bree's talking to this character that is passing. Oh, I think she's talking about her dad, actually, sorry. He's Venezuelan, but I pass, so people don't realize I am too. Or they forget. They say racist crap around me sometimes. Bree responds with, then what? She shrugs. Sometimes I check them, sometimes I don't bother. Ah, I say. And neither one of us has to say anything else about that. I like that there's no other way. There's not like, this is happening in a very neutral sort of way where Bree obviously doesn't like it, but she's not going to sit there and condemn this character who, you know, sometimes checks it and sometimes doesn't. And I read into things, but I read that as Bree kind of knows what it's like to have to like defend your place every single time someone brings up racist shit. And she knows that it's tiring. So she's not going to subject someone else to like probably a rant that's going to make her tired, make the other character tired. You know, it's, I don't know. Tracy Deonn says so much without saying a lot. That's skill. That's amazing skill. Exemplary. The Unsung Founders Memorial. Carolina's way of acknowledging the enslaved and the servants who built this place, she says, her voice wavering between pride and disdain. We get this memorial, and it's something, I suppose. It was a class gift. Not unimportant, but how can I be at peace when I look down and see that they're still working, you know? This is a scene where Bree is with her therapist. Super important if you're dealing with grief. And they meet up for the first time. And let's keep the poignant points rolling, shall we? That's crazy. That's such a good way to say it. Because you see a lot of these memorials popping up or already erected where it's like, this is in remembrance of the enslaved and the slaves that died and blah, blah, blah. But they're always posed still working. Like, let them be at peace, damn. Okay, I have to talk about this. I can't not talk about this. So there's a part in the book where, again, Bree is a page, and all these other pages feel like she's not just taking up space, but also taking up a spot. But then they have like this day where the parents come in, right? And she's immediately treated as other. Some, you know, Karen tries to give her a coat, and, you know, she's like, can you bring me some water, some shit like that. Anyway, this line is what I'm going to read to you. All I see are obstacles, women who want their children in my spot. White women who assume a black girl in the lodge is a servant, not a member. Certainly not someone who outranks them. If Virginia treats me like that, how does she treat the caterers? my skin crawls. And then we're back into the scene, and I won't explain the scene because I want you to read it, obviously. Oh, like immediately after this, one of the people who feels like she's taking up a spot and also too much space as a black woman is this character named Vaughn. And then so they're like sitting at the table, and he's basically accusing Bree of sleeping her way to the top. So, right, then why were you spending time alone with the scion of Arthur? Getting a pep talk, giving him a helping hand. Yeah, so basically he's saying that she's giving a few handy dandies to the scion of Arthur. Oh, and oh my god, there's so much I want to talk about with this book. I hate that I can't spoil anything. That was my dryer. There's this part that's really cathartic for me to read. So Bree is in another therapy session, and her therapist takes her to the graveyard that's around the campus. And as with many places, there's a statue of a praised racist in there. And on her way out, she does something that gives me so much catharsis to read. And I think this whole book was kind of cathartic for me to read. Just, yeah, it's fantastical, and yeah, there's a lot of fantasy elements, and yeah, I'm learning a lot about like Arthurian lore. I can't even say the name. How am I learning about it? But a lot of this is just like really relaxing, really cathartic, really healing for me to read as someone who used to be a 16-year-old little black girl. So I think that's really nice for like all the other black women who might see themselves in Bree. Again, we're not a fucking monolith, so it's not universal. But I think even if you're not like, or never have been a black girl, this is gonna ring with you, because a lot of the otherness that Bree feels is rooted in both her gender identity and her color, the color of her skin. And I highly doubt that there's a person out there who has not suffered stereotype assumption based on their gender identity or the color of their skin. On top of that, she's dealing with like what I feel are conflicting emotions of nerve. So I think we can all relate to that. I think that we can all relate to fighting with your best friend. I think we can all relate to being in hot water for whatever the fuck you did. I think we can relate to going to college and trying to figure out where we fit in on this campus. You know, there's just a lot to talk about with this book, and how the main character Bree moves through it, and how you relate to how she moves through it. You might not relate at all to any of this, but I think that it's still such a fun read. I don't think that you can't not relate, y'all know what I was trying to say. I think that no matter who's reading this book, they will find something to relate to the main character, or relate to the many side characters that are very prominent in this story. So I'm just, I wish that I could just spoil everything by talking about literally everything that I want to talk about. Yeah, damn, yo, this book's good.